at the time, I realized I'm exhausted. I've been working nonstop for a decade without a single sabbatical.
Right.
I just want to travel and find myself.
Mm.
And sometime right before my husband and I decided to go on the sabbatical, I
Okay.
was introduced to Moses by a friend.
Mm.
And it wasn't a recruiting conversation at all. Moses was just happened to be in the Philippines. He was kind of looking at potential opportunities in the Philippines, just wanted to talk to other people in fintech, pick their brains. And I remember I sat down to lunch with Moses, and within 10 minutes of him describing what Xendit was trying to do in Indonesia, had accomplished in Indonesia, I was like, if you don't enter this market, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, no one's told me that. People tell me it's really hard to enter the Philippines market. It feels like the Philippines so figured out because there's so many payments companies. There's Instapay coming in. There's just so many things that, make it feel like it'd be so hard for us to differentiate ourselves here.
Mm.
I said, you know what differentiates Xendit from all of the other players currently? It's the fact that Xendit talks about building payments infrastructure. And maybe it's just because that was a trigger word for me, but it's because the products that Xendit seeks to build are products that don't exist in the market before it enters. And I think that fundamentally, there are a lot of payments companies that, try to commercialize what's already out there, but
Right.
very few that have that mad scientist personality of let's go to the bank. Let's go to that e-wallet and figure out how we get them to build the stuff that the customers really need.
Right.
And in that moment, I was like, one, definitely kindred spirits in that aspect, but also
Right.
like, you guys need to enter this market.
Mhm.
So by the end of that lunch, and I remember this very flower BGC, and he looks at me and he goes, you want to do this together? Like, do you want to work together on this? I'm like, no.
I'm trying to get to a sabbatical. What the hell are you talking about?
I was like, hey, I have a one-way ticket to Europe. It's leaving in like a week. I don't know when I'm going to be back in Asia. And he's like, okay, cool. You know what? Can I just ping you from time to time? Like, let the team ping you if we need like some intros or something. So over the next like 4 months or so, like my husband and I were eating our way through Italy, like
Right.
literally carbs at every meal.
Mhm.
And I would occasionally just get these pings from either Moses or someone else in the team, just randomly like, hey, do you know anyone at Security Bank? Hey, do you know anyone? And when I caught myself like literally sitting on a beach, like in Italy, talking to my husband about like Xendit's potential to enter this market, I was like, oh shoot, maybe I care. Maybe I'm like kind of invested in this.
Oh man, he left the inception in you already.
And
Sneaky
I think the
Moses.
reason was that I remember when I was building PDAX, when I was building our platform, I
Right.
spent a year and a half basically trying to build an internal Xendit. We had to talk to all of our payments partners one by one. We had to go and try to explore brand new products because we couldn't find the solutions provider out there to solve our problem.
Yep.
And I was like, they need to enter. And in my mind at the time, it was always they need to enter. How do I encourage them to enter? And then one day Moses pings me. He's like, hey, I had this reminder in my calendar. I should ping you on this day. You said you're maybe heading back to Asia. And I was like, oh, you're right. I actually did finally book a ticket back. But we're
Wow.
going to Singapore
Okay.
because, I think my husband and I want to move to Singapore. And he's like, cool. I'll fly out. Let's have dinner. And so I was like, okay, that works. And over that dinner, basically what we realized is one, we think about entering markets the same way, right? In entering a market doesn't mean you build a carbon copy of what you had in the previous market or in any other market. It means you listen to what the customers in that market want, and you decide at that time how much of your previous product set even belongs over in the new one.
Makes sense.
And we also had the same mentality to needing to be really, really scrappy and not just entering, as a regional company, guns blazing, 100-person team. It's really about treating each expansion as if it were a cockroach fighting to survive, right?
Exactly.
Lean team, figure out that product market fit, then we scale.